Hey everybody, welcome back to Conspiracy Theories and Chill. We're going to start here in just a little bit. I'm just going to make sure we successfully went live because it always takes a second before it lets me know. I think it's mostly because of my machine. I think it's my end. I don't think it's YouTube. I think it's me. But I'll be live for a long time before I even realize I am. Because right now it just showed me, I just now came up on screen and it said 30 seconds. So if I was sitting here with a blank stare on my face for a little while, that's why. I have not yet figured out how to tell that I'm live on the YouTube version yet. But we're getting there. We're knocking the kinks out. Um, I think that we're gonna make this a regular time slot for a little while over here on YouTube. I've been playing with different times a day, but I'm thinking somewhere around noon on Tuesdays. We'll do conspiracy theories and chill over here on YouTube. So, welcome back to the show. I've got some stuff I want to kick around with you guys, but as always, we can talk about anything that you want. Um, I titled this feed that Everything We Know is a Lie. And the reason why I titled it that is because it is. We live in the age of deceit. That's just a fact. And you have to seek out truth for yourself. You've never it started ever since you were little. You were indoctrinated, you weren't educated. You've been you we don't receive a real education. We receive indoctrination. We're trained to be good workers. We're trained to regurgitate information. We're not, you know, we're not encouraged to have free thought and expression. These things are not encouraged. It's your ability to remember information and repeat it on a test. That's what you're rewarded for in our educational system. And how you advance and do well is by regurgitating and repeating. Um, Things like individuality are suppressed, and following the crowd is encouraged. You want to be part of the group, you want to be popular, right? So, all school teaches you is how to be a good worker and how to fit in and function in society. That's what the purpose of our education system is, at least in this country. And you don't get any real information there because you're taught fake history. Everything that you're taught in school and you're taught to remember and you're taught as fact is fake and made up. It's history, they're open about this much. History is written by the victors. The version of history that you are taught or read is always by the point of view of the conquerors. And that's just admitted fact. But it goes deeper than that. It's fake. It's completely manipulated and been changed and altered, and things have been completely omitted and left out in a massive scale, not a little bit, a massive scale, to the point where we don't really know our history. You have to piece it together. You know, I have decided that I am going to dive very deeply into the real history of our country and our world. There's a lot of interesting things. Like, I have a person that I want to have, I've had on the show before, Tyler Klatnoff, and he is a researcher and he is into some fascinating things right now having to do with a lot of these ancient structures. Like, have you ever noticed how your Capitol buildings or most of the buildings in Washington, D.C., or a lot of your older churches, they look alien almost. They just don't fit in with their environment. They look like they don't belong, and you also can't even fathom how they were constructed or how the marble was moved or are these different things. It just seems crazy that this was done so long ago. And he's into some interesting things about how maybe we're misled about what went on in our past to the point, you know, that these structures, that there's more behind these structures, that they're actually more ancient than we're being told. That the reason why, you know, like the Capitol building in your local town looks foreign, looks out of place, is because it is, and it's actually ancient. These buildings and structures, especially Washington, D.C., Washington, D.C. is incredibly interesting, and it has a lot of these ancient structures. But, and it's all laid out to these power line, these ley lines, which so are a lot of ancient structures such as the pyramids, the uh, the Great Pyramids of Giza are laid out on power lines. So is Stonehenge laid out on these different ley lines. All kinds of different um, well, I don't know what I'm looking for here, but these different historical, powerful places or places of interest like Stonehenge um, lay on these power lines, these ley lines. If you take the coordinates, and so it's interesting. It'd be interesting to find out if your local capital also lines up on power, these ley lines of power that the ancients believed in. But because if they do, that would be interesting as well. Because that's the way that they built their structures back then. They built them aligned with those things, aligned with astronomy and aligned with um, the powers of the earth, the magnetic pulls and structures and poles, and all the different things that they based it on. But they lined up their architecture in those ways. They had a different understanding of the world. Not they just understood, I think, the way things actually are. We've been misled. We've been misled about everything, including our true potential. You know, humans have a much greater potential than the elite and those in power ever want you to. Um, I'm having a lot of trouble finding words today, but ever want you to unlock in yourself. You have immense potential. The human brain is, well, they're open with the fact that we only use 10% of it. You know, there's reasons why, and it's has to do with the dumbing down that they've done since your birth. They've always discouraged actual knowledge and actual learning and replaced that with indoctrination and training because all they're really concerned with is making you a productive member of society. They don't we don't protect our geniuses, we never have. You know, I was getting ready to touch on Nikolai Tesla. He's a great example of how what you're taught in school isn't exactly true because I remember being taught in school how Thomas Edison was this great man, this great inventor, when the truth is he was a rich man who hired a lot of very smart people and took credit for all of their inventions. One of these people was Nikolai Tesla. And the not only did Thomas Edison take advantage of Nikolai Tesla, so did the government. Nikolai Tesla was one of the smartest men that ever lived, and you don't even learn about him in school. You never hear about him. And the reasons why is he wanted to use his knowledge to the benefit of society. He had invented things like free wireless energy, and I believe he had perfected it. I believe he had built a tower, and it is said to have worked and was then demolished. People like to say it's because it didn't work. I think it was demolished because it did work, but the funding was pulled from his project immediately after the tower was constructed, and Tesla says it did work and was proven to work. Funding was pulled from his project because they realized there's no way to put a meter on this. They realized once he had it up and running that this was free wireless technology, free wireless energy that could just be plugged into. You can't charge for this. They didn't want that. They don't they want they want things they can make money off of. He wanted things for the benefit of society. He understood different things about the world that only a very select few people understood ever. But I think that they understood that in these ancient times. I think they had unlocked a lot of what Tesla understood about the world, and that this energy is all around us. I think that they had locked into that and figured out different things. When you want to know how they could make these structures like the pyramids and different things and move these giant stones, maybe they had a different understanding of power, different technology through more of the natural elements and using the natural things that are around us that have been hidden from us. Things that Tesla understood and used in his technology. But we're lied to about everything. Everything's a lie. Your entire information download from school of history can be picked apart. You can go through and destroy every bit of it. And that's just terrible. And it's terrifying because the truth will eventually be eliminated. And it will happen slowly. It's been happening slowly over time. And we haven't really paid attention or realized, and it may be past the tipping point. A lot of times I lose faith in humanity that will do anything about it. And and I'm not saying that in a way where I blame people because I understand what we're up against. You're up against a lifetime of indoctrination and brainwashing. You know, and the truth is hidden and suppressed. It's just sad. You have to find and seek it out for yourself. But I'm more interested in finding out what really happened in history. Maybe how much is hidden from us. I've seen interesting research done that the Sphinx and the pyramids are much older than we're told. That this has been proven through different kinds of dating, that they're thousands, tens of thousands of years older than what we're being told. How much history is being hidden from us? You know, there's evidence of these civilizations. Like I've been researching Tartaria. And that's fascinating. There's evidence of this civilization, one of the largest civilization that ever existed, and I'd never heard of it. But it's just fascinating how much has been hidden from us and kept from us. And I'm gonna dedicate a lot more time to finding more of that and unveiling and revealing more of that. But I think that these are a couple of interesting paths, that these buildings, these structures, are actually much older than what we're being told. Not only the Sphinx and the pyramids, but these Capitol buildings, you know, these churches that look like they were grown out of crystal packages that just are just like, how did they do this? And how did they do it hundreds of years ago? You know, you don't see any structures like that today. And you could say, well, it's laziness and we don't want to put that much effort into stuff, but that's weird to me. That's a little odd that you don't see things built like that today. People are artistic and creative, want to express themselves. You would think that things would be built like that. But no, only ancient buildings are like that. So that's interesting to me. Uh, Go ahead and comment anything that you guys want to talk about. This is an experiment trying out these feeds over on YouTube because one, my channel is a baby, so whether or not it'll work over here on YouTube, the live feeds with less than 1,000 subscribers, which I'm so close to 1,000 subscribers. If you're here and you're already a subscriber, share a video or two on my channel that, if you have a favorite video, and try to boost and give me I'm trying to get up to 1,000 subscribers. I really want to hit that goal. But what I was trying to say is it may be a little hard for a baby channel like that to do live feeds. You may not have enough reach because, at least me, I lean on the comments a little bit because I have fully exhausted my page of notes. And I didn't want the whole thing to be about how everything we know is a lie and how we've been indoctrinated. I just want people to understand and keep that in mind when you're talking to people who, you may consider or call a sheep or brainwashed. Yes, they are brainwashed, but you got to understand how they came to be that way. And you have fought through that if you have risen above it, but I'm sure if you really think back on it, you realize what a monster it was and how persistent it even still is. So, because you're not only indoctrinated from birth, but your brain you're bombarded by the media, and not just the media, but Hollywood as well. So you are trained how to think and be by everything that surrounds you from a very young age. And it's all by design. It's scary sometimes, and it's overwhelming when you think about it. But the only way to fight back, beings that we do, it's demonstrably provable that we live in the age of deceit. Now, I know that that has biblical implications, and but it's true either way. And the people that pull the strings and run things and actually rule our world are religious. So whether you are or not, it doesn't affect the fact that they are and they have power over you. So well, that was a long way of saying it's true either way. This is the age of deceit. Everything is a lie. You have to find truth. You have to seek truth out for yourself. Um, a very good quote by a hero of mine, William Cooper, is listen to everything, believe nothing. Take it all in, but question it all. Come to your own conclusions. Find your own truth. But thanks for stopping by and watching this feed on conspiracy theories and chill. Like I said, this is an experiment to see if the live feeds will work out on the YouTube channel. I like doing the live feeds over here, but like I say, it's a baby channel, so I may not have the reach yet to pull off the live feeds because, you depend sometimes on the comments, especially in a conversational show like this, because I don't want to just beat a dead horse, but hopefully I I at least help people understand that when you're trying to wake people up, you have to realize what you're up against. We're up against this monster of a propaganda machine. And you can't be mad at people who fell victim to that. We have to be a little more understanding and a little more patient, I think, with people in order to wake them up. Because attacking them and calling someone a sheep, it's not going to do anything but trigger their defenses. And they're not going to listen to you anymore. You're not convincing anybody that way. And then all you're really doing is prancing around and making yourself feel better than others by being woke and informed. You're not waking anyone. You're not doing yourself any favors. You're not moving us in any direction of progress by mocking them, because they're not going to absorb any information from you if you go at them that way. And I know it's hard because it's frustrating because you feel like these people are holding you back, and in a way they are. But like I say, it's not their fault. You know, they're up against so much misinformation and brainwashing, and it's a lot to get through. It's a lot to get past. For some, it's way too much. For some, it's more than they can do, more than they can overcome. But it's basically undoing everything that you've ever been taught. It's a slow process. It has to be. Because, think about it for yourself. You didn't come to all this at once. There was moments that brought you around and started opening your eyes, and one thing led to another, and you went further down different rabbit holes, and you learned and informed yourself and came to the current conclusion that you're at. You didn't just instantly arrive there. It took you time to unravel all the bullshit that you've been fed since you were a baby. And we have to understand that everyone needs to do that. And it's something that I actually think you have to come to on your own, because your mind will defend itself otherwise. Your mind, if it doesn't want to accept information, it will kick it out. It will find a way to disregard it. It defends itself. And the technical term for it is cognitive dissonance, but it's true. Your mind, and somebody presents you with something that violates a deep core belief, something that you hold dear, your mind will defend itself. You will stop listening. So you have to be careful if you actually want to inform and wake people, which I would hope everybody wants to do. Because otherwise, what's the point of being woke? You know, just to watch everything burn and fall apart around us, just to be aware and be able to go, I told you so. We got to wake people up. And the only way to do that is to understand the enemy, to understand what we're fighting against. And what we're fighting against is this lifelong indoctrination and brainwashing system that has been in place for a very long time, perfected, and is very powerful, very strong. It's a lot to break through, but it's not impossible. We're evidence of that. You know, people like you and me that watch this show or watch shows like this, we're evidence that it's not impossible to break through the indoctrination. But remember it, keep it in mind that it exists, and that is what we're fighting, and that's what we're up against. We're not really up against the sheep, if that's what you want to call them, for lack of a better term. We're up against what made them sheep. That's your enemy. That's who you're mad at, you know. You can't be mad at the victims of a propaganda machine that is immensely powerful and was weaponized long ago. You just can't. I don't, I can't be mad at people. I understand. I understand why you've been fooled so deeply. And I understand that it's painful when you start realizing how badly you've been lied to and how badly you've been misled. But it's empowering as at the same time, you know? And it's uncomfortable. I'm not going to lie to you. It's not easy when you start questioning and pulling back layers and finding out the truth. And the more you find, the more disturbing it gets sometimes. But I wouldn't go back. I wouldn't unlearn. You know, your enemy's overwhelming. What we're up against can seem overwhelming. It can seem hopeless. But I still wouldn't choose to be uninformed. And that is a choice in the age of information, in technology, and in what's available today. It is a choice to be ignorant. But a lot of people feel like they're informed. You know, that's that's my point. You can't be mad at them for feeling like they watch the news. I inform myself. I watch the news every night. Well, the news is garbage. You know, television is propaganda. It's programming. It's called television programming for a reason. It was weaponized long ago. It's been a weapon ever since you first got one in your television in your living room. Jennifer says it's better to be awake. Oh, it is better. I've been told I've been told that people that believe in conspiracies do so because it helps us make sense of things and it's comforting to us. I don't think it's comforting, but it is better. I'd rather be informed. I would rather understand. Once you really understand what's going on around you, it actually does make sense. But it's not in a comforting way. It doesn't comfort me to understand what we're up against. The only thing that does comfort me is that it can be taken down. What we're up against is, a couple hundred people. It's a handful. It's less than 1,000 people that are suffocating and destroying our world, and their greed is killing, literally killing millions of people and killing our planet. So we outnumber them. That's comforting to know that, but you got to shake people awake. And what I'm saying is we're fighting against a system where everything that the average person knows is a lie. And to break them through that is going to have to be a gentle process because you understand, because a lot of damage has been done. Think about how much damage that is from very little age, and your own parents have passed on a lot of this bullshit programming because they inherited it. It's not their fault, but they passed it down to you too. So it was the system, it was your your parents passing on what they were taught, everything that you've ever learned since you were little, you've been misled. And a lot of the people didn't even know they were misleading you because they were misled. It goes back and back and back. It's a genius. And let me see what Jennifer says. News is pharmaceutical industry and oil and war propaganda. Truth is hard to swallow. The news is all bought and paid for, and propaganda was made legal to use against the American people. And it was made legal under Obama. Not that it wasn't done before it was made legal, but they've outright made it legal. So when you see things like the fake videos, the fake ISIS terrorist videos that the CIA was busted and exposed, releasing as real, put on the news as real, um, that's legal. They're allowed to do that. The military industrial complex puts all kinds of fake news on TV as real news, and they push their agenda and they use the media to push public perception and opinion in order to support their wars. So Jennifer's right on point with that. The news is just propaganda for all big money interests, the elite. It's all controlled by six corporations. It's it's a propaganda machine. That's all it is. Every channel, and the only difference is what flavor propaganda you get. You're getting the same bullshit narrative from whatever flavor you choose. That's your only choice. Is it left leaning, right leaning, center? That's it. That's your only choice. You have to seek out real truth. If you don't seek it out, then you don't find it. And if we don't start protecting it, we won't even be able to seek it out anymore. You have to stop being so comfortable. A part of being awake needs to be waking people up. You need to feel responsible to do that. And I'm saying you may want to reevaluate your approach because you're never going to wake people up by attacking them. But Jennifer says the Venezuela coup, oil and money. What's going on in Venezuela? Pay close attention to that. I talked about that 2 years ago when I knew. Um, Go ahead and trace this back for yourself. But about 2 years ago, Venezuela announced that they had discovered a massive oil reserves. The largest oil reserves I think ever discovered were discovered in Venezuela a couple years ago, and they announced this. And I said way back then, you watch, Venezuela is going to need some democracy. Here we go. Because Venezuela wanted to trade their oil for gold. Now, we and our economy depends on the petrodollar. And for those of you maybe not aware, the petrodollar, what that means is to buy oil in this economy, in this worldwide economy, you have to do that in American currency. Um, but a lot of countries are wanting to switch to gold. They don't want to deal in American currency, which if we allow that to happen, if our military allows that to happen, could cripple our economy. And that's what a lot of our wars are about and what the Venezuelan coup is about is we're trying to stop that transfer of from the petrodollar onto gold. And it's also because Venezuela has this huge oil reserves. They have these huge massive amounts of oil. We want control of that as well. Ms. Imaginary says, "What's this show about?" It was about my rant was about how everything that we know is a lie, and that's been by design since you were little. You've been indoctrinated and lied and brainwashed and programmed ever since you were little, and that once you've broken through that, I believe it's your responsibility to wake other people up. That was basically what my rant was about. And right now, I'm feeding off the comments. So Jennifer's been talking about how news is just propaganda for the oil and war machine and big money interests. And we were getting into the coup in Venezuela, which we need to um, really come out loudly against. We need to start realizing that nothing will stop or change until millions of us stand united and demand that it does. That is the only way anything ever changes or any progress ever takes place, is when people demand it. So knowing that this is wrong is good, but you got to make enough people understand and know that it's wrong and know the truth of what's really going on, so that they stop believing in and supporting these wars, because the media right now is selling a lot of bullshit about Venezuela. And Jennifer's on point again here, because we sanctioned Venezuela into poverty. They like to point to examples because Venezuela does have socialism. So they like to point to examples and say that it failed in Venezuela. Socialism didn't fail in Venezuela. We crippled Venezuela with sanctions. We have been attacking them, trying to gain control over their oil and sanctioning them because they don't want to trade their oil for American currency. They don't want to use the petrodollar system. They want to trade their oil for gold. A lot of these countries that have oil reserves are wanting to get off the petrodollar system. And we are using the force of our military to keep them on the petrodollar system. That happened in Libya, it happened in Iraq, and it's happening again now in Venezuela. And I know that if you looked into this, what's his name, Guido, if you looked into him, I know he's got CIA background. I'm sure he does. He's a CIA plant, and I'm sure we're 100% behind that entire coup. But he is illegitimate. He's being recognized by the media and as the legitimate president. But the legitimate president is Maduro. He was elected by a landslide. Is actually very popular. It's disgusting what's going on there, and it's all about greed, oil, and who knows, maybe drugs too. Most of our wars are about those three things, but it's definitely about greed and oil. But that's what they're talking about when they say God is greed, oil, and drugs. People say gold. I say greed because I want it to include everything. It's about more than just gold. Jennifer says, what's the best way to wake up people? I don't know. I play with that a lot though. And what I do realize mostly is that what's wrong with what we're doing, and what's wrong with our approach in a large way is that we attack them. I've fallen victim to it myself because it gets frustrating, because they just throw these talking points at you from the media where they've been misled to believe this alternate reality that's so far and so divorced from the truth that it's frustrating. So and like I said, I've done it myself. You lash out and you attack them. That's not going to work. Um, just trying to inform them and being patient, I guess, which is frustrating as well, because how much time do we have? That riles me up sometimes too, because I'm like, man, what do they say? We got 12 years before we hit climate crisis, and it's too late. And that's just one particular aspect. But how long do we have before the dollar collapses? How long do we have before America, as we know it, ceases to be? How long do we have before we lose our freedoms? Before we lose our protections? You know, we're very spoiled. How long do we have? A lot of people don't even realize that the bottom is going to fall out. Your average American doesn't realize A, how spoiled and lucky they are. They also don't realize how easily the bottom can fall out and how it's designed to fall out. And you won't know in advance. The way that I've heard that the economy will collapse, and the economy is designed to collapse. The dollar itself is designed to collapse. It always has been. And I believe that's how America will fall. It will fall by our economy collapsing. And they say that when it happens, you won't know. They won't tell you. So it'll happen like on a Friday. They say if this ever happens, you know the economy, the dollar has collapsed. If on a Friday they ever say the banks have to shut down for any kind of reason to update their technological software or anything like that, so you won't be able to access any of your accounts throughout the weekend, but on Monday everything will be fine. If that ever happens, they say you have 72 hours to get wherever you're going, that the dollar has collapsed and it's over. And but that's how it would happen. Is something like that. They'll never tell you, but that's how fast you'd be screwed. That's how fast before they would roll out martial law. 72 hours. Because that's how long it would take for everyone to realize that, we're basically in the same situation we were when they had the bank runs when that happened. If we all ran for our money right now, it's not there. They don't have it. You try to cash out. If we all tried to cash out, system can't support that. It's it's just designed to fail. It's set up to fail. It's only kept up by faith. There's not much holding it up. Faith in our military is all that's holding it up. But I wish I had a better answer for what the best way to wake people up is. For me, it was an event, you know? Well, I always questioned things, but I didn't realize, just how bad things were until I got shook awake by, for me, it was 9/11. It made me really realize and start to dig deeper into other things that I already found suspicious. And, I've been a fan because I was introduced to him at a young age of William Cooper for a long time. So I've been exposed to this stuff from a young age, at least that it existed. But I never pulled back the curtain until I was really shook awake by 9/11. I always found it interesting, but I never realized, oh my God, this is not just fascinating stuff and interesting and deep, but it's real. And they have control over our world. These people were right, you know. It's scary, and it takes time. So that's even for someone that was open-minded and someone that was exposed to truth tellers and that angle from a younger age and was interested into it and fascinated, I mean interested by it and fascinated and dive deep into it at a young age. It took 9/11 to shake me awake to the fact that, wow, this is just all true. So I don't know. I don't know because you're fighting against so much. Like what I was saying when in my rant, a lifetime of indoctrination and brainwashing is what you're fighting against. I just think we need to realize that and keep it in mind. Jennifer says we've lost a lot of freedom since 9/11. The Patriot Act, it was a huge attack on our freedoms. And the 9/11 was done for many reasons, but one of the larger reasons was to chip away at a lot of our freedoms. Our pesky little freedoms stand in the way of the New World Order agenda, and the New World Order agenda is real. And one of the main final points in their plan is the fall of the American Empire. It's it's planned out and preordained. Oh, power from 9/11. Miss Imaginary said I forgot about power. Jennifer says build local communities stronger and know what your skills are and what resources are around you. Yeah, a lot of people would be very screwed if everything fell apart. You know how dependent you are on society, on not on society, but on the system, and how quickly it could fall apart. Like within 72 hours. That's how long it would take for most things to happen. Think about when there's a big snowstorm, how fast the grocery store shelves clear out when people are stocking up and panicking that they won't be able to get out for a couple days. Can you imagine what it would be like if they announced that the dollar had collapsed, and people were making runs on everything, every resource and every item that you can think of. And then it's all wiped out within a course of a couple days. What are you going to do after that? Most people aren't prepared. I watched a panel discussion, and Killer Mike was on the panel, and everyone was all riled up in the room. And he started asking, well, let me see a show of hands. How many of y'all know how to grow food? How many of you know how to grow your own food? How many of y'all know how to hunt? How many of you know you use a weapon, a rifle, and how to hunt? How many of y'all know a martial art or self-defense? And you just see hands dropping, hands coming down. Because at first it was how many of y'all want to rise up? And everybody wants to rise up. Well, how many of y'all know how to do this? How many of y'all know how to do that? By the end of the time he was done, nobody's got their hands up. And he's like, y'all ain't ready to rise up against nothing. Y'all aren't ready to fight back against nothing. You are dependent on the system. And that's by design as well. They're even trying to make it illegal to grow food. People try to grow gardens instead of yards, and that's becoming illegal in places. They'll fine you and make you destroy your garden. You should be able to do whatever you want with your yard if you want to grow food. It's illegal to collect rainwater in most places. Why? That's crazy. It's crazy that that's illegal, but it is. You know, things are so twisted. Everything is upside down. This is truly the age of deceit. So, the only way to fight back against that is by spreading the truth. That's all we can do. So, that's how we wake them. And it's unfortunately a slow process. But I think if we're more patient with them, they're more likely and more, well, likely was probably the best way to go, more likely to accept the information. At least not to kick it out. Because once you start attacking, then the defenses go up. They're instantly triggered, and it's just they're not listening to you anymore anyway. So everything you're saying past that point is wasted effort because nothing's getting in. The defenses are up. The walls have went up. I don't know how to say your name, but the comment seems interesting, so I'm going to read it and I'm going to attempt to say the name, but correct me if I'm wrong. Shuan Hernandez. Hello, my friends. I'm Shuan, a time traveler from the year 2098. In 2054, Space Force is only military branch. Marines, Army, Navy, and Air Force is gone. Interesting. So, Space Force actually gets off the ground and takes off and becomes the real thing. And what? All the military branches merge into Space Force? In 2033, government admits and tells who and why they killed Kennedy. Oh, yeah? Who do they who do they say killed him, and why do they say they killed him? I'm interested in hearing that. This is fascinating. We have a time traveler with us. But I'm dying to see the next thing the time traveler tells us about. I want to hear why Kennedy was killed. Okay, yes, he must be talking about what I said about the Space Force. See, there seems to be a delay here too. So there's like a 10 to 15-second delay between what I'm saying and what they're typing. But let's see. While we wait for the time traveler, Jennifer says, Mother Earth is alive and awake, and she will survive beyond man. She will devour mankind like a virus. And she is not wrong. The earth will survive us. We are parasites on the earth. We are a plague on the earth, honestly. And it's not your average person. When I say we, I'm talking about all of us. And the people that are destroying it are, like I've said, a handful of people. It's only we because we've allowed that. So by our silence, we have consented and we become part of the we. See what I'm saying? But humanity in general is a plague on the planet. Your average person is not. They try to make you feel like you're the one at fault. Like the whole, you need to live green and all that. We can't do that. We're a major corporation. We can't do that. We're not going to eliminate this or that. We're not going to do this or that. That's too expensive. But you should reduce your carbon footprint. They try to place the blame on you, but it's a handful of people that are actually responsible for the destruction of the world. But humans have done a lot of damage, but the earth will survive us and will live on past us. There have been what, 5 extinction events that have happened on this planet that we know of, that they told us of. We've already covered that most of the history that you know is fake and made up. So Shun says, I can't say. Time Police has me monitored. That makes sense. So there's Time Police. So you're allowed to travel. What are you, like, on vacation? Or did you escape? Or can you even tell me that? Shun says, the reason I can say this is because you don't believe me, so I'm playing devil's advocate. I believe you. I believe you for the purposes of I want to hear more. So tell me more about Shun. Okay, here we go. Shun says the Earth will change for the better, but aliens actually are in peace with you guys in your timeline, but can't say year they break peace treaty. Oh, they break the peace treaty. The aliens. So they attack us, but the Earth changes for the better. Does humanity survive the attack? And am I even reading that right? Are you saying that the aliens attack us? I hope you guys are having fun with this because I am fascinated to have a time traveler on. I would like to interview you on a future episode, get you on a split screen, or I even would do like blurred out, blur your face out and box it all out like they used to do on TV and have you with the robot voice. That would be fascinating. But the time police, though, you got to worry about them. They probably wouldn't like that. Miss Imaginary asks, have you ever heard of the Mandela effect? It involves time and space shifting. Why no time travelers ever predict that? Shun says, that's why Space Force is the only military branch, because aliens are the only threat in the future. So Ronald Reagan turned out to be right. All of humanity would unite to fight the aliens. That's interesting. But I'm interested to hear if you believe in the Mandela effect or if you've heard of the Mandela effect. June says there's no Mandela effect. The government is changing your memories. So then there is a Mandela effect. You just believe the reason for it is that the government is changing our memories. How are they changing our memories? You probably can't tell me because of the time cops, but maybe you can. I don't know. I don't know what you can and can't tell me. June says we have alien allies. That's good. So there's a specific group of aliens that are attacking us, but we also have alien allies that are fighting on our side or just sharing technology with us. Are they the same aliens that have always shared technology with us? Or are they a new group of aliens? This is fascinating. I'm interested to hear. So, what year? Let's see. I got to back up a little bit. He's from year, I shouldn't have assumed a gender, but from the year 2098. And he's here, showed up at my feed. And we're lucky enough to hear about the fact that we at least we exist in 2098, which I'm kind of surprised. I didn't think we'd still be around. Does a mass extinction event happen? I feel like a mass extinction event would happen at least by then. They're planning one. June says in 2040 free Wi-Fi in the whole US. Oh, that wouldn't surprise me. They want that 5G grid everywhere. They want everybody exposed to that Wi-Fi. He says there are aliens who breed with humans. Interesting. Cross species breeding. Oh, there's no mass extinction event. That's nice. I'm glad to hear that. So, so 5G turns out to be okay. It doesn't drastically increase cancer rates, or do they come up with a cure for cancer? If the Space Force will allow you to tell me whether or not there's a cure found for cancer. But does anybody have any questions that they want to ask Shuan before we wrap up? He never told me if I was saying the name right. So I'm just going to assume I am. Even though I had a teacher in school, one of my favorite teachers, that told me that when you assume, you're making an ass out of you and me. You should never assume. And that is one of the lessons that's always stuck with me. So I try not to do it, but I realize I just did. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for stopping by. And if you have any ideas that you would like to see me go into, any conspiracies that you would like to see me go into in future episodes, I can go into and cover any topic. I don't have to agree with it. I like all conspiracies. So comment anything you'd like to see us get into in a future episode. And I think we'll probably be doing this regularly on Tuesdays. And I think noon worked out pretty good as a time. So we'll see you next Tuesday for sure around noon. I'm thinking noon will be the good time. And that's Central Time. Same time we went today. But thanks for coming. This has been Conspiracy Theories and Chill. I'm Sean. And remember to like, share, and subscribe. We'll see you next time.